I'm a self-made man. You thought I was a wise guy. I'm just a fly dude that gotta get mine. I'm like the black sheep amongst the herd. So what's the word? I research remedies found in nature, all kinds of herbs. This the only time I make myself known as I travel from overseas being flown. So now we're back home with court advantage, like I'm picked as the captain about to save this planet. When it's time to get my flowers, grow me a garden.
So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, whenever you're watching this. This is Matthew Bailey. It's a wrap, and it is I, live and direct, here in my office here with this speaker that's not as big as it looks like. It's just a chair that I'm sitting on. And today I'll be doing an album review. This one is going to be on the newest record from New York rapper Amari Mar, entitled Healers of the Lost Art. Now, getting the obvious out of the way, yes, the title to this record is indeed a reference to the cinematic masterpiece that is Steven Spielberg's Raiders of the Lost Ark. But Healers of the Lost Art is more than just a clever title. It's a statement. With a decade-plus rap career, which includes a debut mixtape co-signed by none other than Kool G Rap entitled Too Many Cooks Spoil the Broth, a follow-up mixtape by the name of The God Must Be Crazy, and a well-received debut album by the name of Grand Rising on this belt, calling yourself a healer of the lost art of rapping is anything but an understatement. Now, even though I only got to listen to The God Must Be Crazy and Grand Rising in preparation for this review, I still got the sense that I was listening to a lyricist who really took his art seriously. Someone who wanted to be a torchbearer for pure lyricism in hip-hop, following in the footsteps of legendary wordsmiths like Common, KRS-One, Nas, Talib Kweli, and Mos Def. Common and KRS-One will be mentioned later in this review here, but I bring up the other three as I can see shades of their socially and oftentimes spiritually conscious approach to their subject matter in Amari's music. I do imagine the term lost art resonating more with die-hard hip-hop heads than casual listeners, mainly because the argument can be made that conscious rap isn't as prominent in current hip-hop landscape as it was in the 90s, 2000s, and agree to disagree, even the 2010s. And as someone who's loved conscious rap since the mid-90s, it is truly disheartening to see that subgenre of rap music being constantly cast aside by music consumers in favor of trendy mainstream artists and songs. Thankfully, on Healers of the Lost Art, Amari doesn't seem to care about rap trends or flavors of the month. Getting his messages out to the world is his main concern. And on this record, these messages are centered on healing, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual. Additionally, Healers of the Lost Art is Amari's first collaborative studio album with a producer, who in this case is Ev Live, who comes through with a collection of beats packed with soul samples, jazzy melodies, and East Coast inspired boom bap rhythms. Going back to Raiders of the Lost Ark for a sec, the album itself feels like we're partaking in this excursion through this long lost temple of hip hop. See, I told you I was going to mention KRS-One, with each song unearthing something relevant, thoughtful, and intelligent. And like the Egyptian mythology inspired album cover, you could picture the brief intro track, The Healing Factor, as the first steps being taken towards this ancient structure. On a Mission is a great tone setter for the album, as it features this calm, soulful instrumental from Ev Live that, if you grew up on hearing 70s soul music on the radio on Sundays like I did, will instantly evoke feelings of nostalgia. Amari lays the groundwork for his lyrical approach to the record by expressing his desire to educate his listeners while not presenting himself in a holier-than-thou manner, and reminding said listeners to be mindful of certain negative influences that can impact their mental states. He expands on this imparting of knowledge on the following track, Selective, where, over an atmospheric beat and a solid hook from guest crooner Frontier, he examines his own caution when it comes to delivering his words of wisdom. For those who exhibit strong negative impulses, a simple word of advice aimed at them may elicit the wrong response. And for Amari, this is an occasionally tough pill to swallow. And yet on the second verse, he makes it clear that he will continue to move forward in his path of personal growth and development while keeping that harsh reality in mind. Up next, we have Unsolved Mysteries, which admittedly, despite the multiple listens I've given it, I haven't fully unpacked at the time of me doing this review here. It has a noticeable Jizza Liquid Swords vibe to it, From Evlife's chilly, downbeat production to Amari's grim, fly-on-the-wall portrait of his hometown and its inner workings. I should mention the blink and you miss it pop culture references that appear on this record. And on this particular track, there's a standout moment where Amari says, "Stitching up lyrics like a mitten, sewing and weaving, while my words evaporate, going up towards the ceiling like it's ghostwriter. Call me the itsy bitsy spider, cause you're trapped in my web filled with haters, killers, and liars." I mean, come on, man. Like, come on, man. Come on, right? Come on. Speaking of Marvel Comics, we get the single Forbidden Fruit, where Amari draws lyrical inspiration from the one person who made it cool to sample 70s and 80s superhero cartoons, the late, great MF Doom. Over quirky, stripped-down beat, Amari goes into food mode as he delivers this extended verse peppered with witty references to food and food products. It's definitely an album highlight and one that I imagine both Amari and Evlife had a blast putting together. Things get brighter on the following track, Come Together and The Sun Returns. The former is this bouncy, upbeat rallying cry for Black unity with a catchy raga/dancehall hook from legendary ska artist Holy Ranks and a stellar second verse provided by guest rapper Nif Biko. The lead single, The Sun Returns, is easily one of the album's best and most heartfelt tracks, with its triumphant horn-assisted production and Amari's lyrical celebration of turning 37, the appreciation he feels from this milestone, and of course how he plans to spend this day. It's rare to hear a rap song about having a happy birthday, and it's very rare to hear a rap song with the Trimbigonian term liming in it. And for those two reasons and its overall sentiment, I think that The Sun Returns is certainly going to be remembered in Amari's catalog. Following that, we get the lows and highs of How Could You and Love Language, where Amari explores Black love in modern times. Over a disenchanted soul instrumental set to the repeated use of a heartbroken vocal sample, Amari explores both sides of a relationship where the man is being emasculated by the insecurities of his female partner. On the first verse, he carefully and, going back to selective, cautiously examines how some Black women suppress their insecurities through female empowerment, feminism, and even interracial relationships, to the point that Black men are constantly viewed as weak, immature, and unfit for emotional attachment. But it's the second verse that hits even harder, as Amari raps from the perspective of a man who's had enough of the confrontational attitude exhibited by his soon-to-be ex. This is a key moment on the album, as it emphasizes the vulnerability that many Black men are pressured by social norms to subdue, for fear of being perceived as weak, of course. And the first instance of a topic that will be explored after the interlude, It's Real, mental health. By comparison, Love Language is a significantly bright and romantic look at the contemporary Black relationship. Over a pleasant mix of old school boom bap drums and gentle keyboard chords, Amari raps about the mutual commitment shared between himself and his wife towards a sustainable, long-term relationship. What I admire the most about this track is the concept of this love language being explored here. A strong connection between both parties where every experience, good or bad, feels like a new word being added to their shared vernacular. Both sonically and lyrically, Love Language feels like a subconscious tribute to Common's Delight, which also explore the efforts made towards securing a fruitful relationship. After the interlude, It's Real, we get an introspective examination of Amari's own mental health on the 1-2 combo of Inner Child and Father Time. Over Evlife's gloomy production on Inner Child, Amari reflects on how his inner child has and continues to impact his life. Though he's living a healthy, creative, and fulfilled life at this point, he still feels isolated, both socially and emotionally, due to the pain he still harbors from traumatic experiences of his past. One of these experiences is explored on the following track, Father Time, which is easily the most saddening track on this album. Even if you're fortunate to have both of your parents around in your life, and that's coming from someone who lost his mom a few years ago, it's hard not to hear Amari deliver this tribute to his father, who unfortunately lost his life at a relatively young age in both their lives without tearing up. And if somehow the lyrics don't hit you, Evlife's soulful and gorgeously serene instrumental certainly will. The last leg of the record begins with Immaculate, where you're allowed to wipe away the tears left behind by Father Time and nod your head to a hypnotic, vibraphone-driven beat laced with boom-bap drums and occasional DJ scratches. And mad points for incorporating a vocal sample from Buffalo's own West Side Gun on the hook, by the way. Amari takes a much-needed break from his focus on mental health to showcase his lyrical skills from an elevated, almost metaphysical level, with some occasional shots at his detractors and a few pop culture references thrown in for good measure. Both Amari and Evlife close the album on a somber and thoughtful note, with their work on the penultimate track, Disturbing the Peace, and Pick Your Battles. Evlife's melodramatic production on Disturbing the Peace makes for an effective musical backdrop for Amari to tell a deeply emotional story centered on his handling of a situation involving a depressed roommate. And over the piano-driven instrumental of Pick Your Battles, Amari touches on the moral boundaries he set in place to block out anything foolish, negative, or unimportant that will hinder his mental and spiritual growth. And yet he's aware that there will be instances when these boundaries are crossed, and he'll either have to stand his ground or fight back. But when there's a possibility of a shameful or catastrophic outcome to this moral defense, he has to learn, as he states on the second verse, to check his ego and walk away from the situation. As a whole, I really enjoyed Healers of the Lost Art. As a first-time listener to Evlife, I thought that his production was consistent and impressive from the opening to closing track. Amari's post-mixtape growth as both a lyricist and songwriter are on full display on this album as he approaches a wide array of topics from a thoughtful and lyrically potent perspective. And while there are a few lyrical moments that will require multiple listens to fully decipher them, the emotional journey provided throughout this record and the jewels being dropped on every song along the way will make the experience of re-listening to this record a truly worthwhile one. In short, Healers of the Lost Ark comes highly recommended, and I'm giving this one an 8 out of 10. And that's my review of Amari Mar's Healers of the Lost Ark. So if you've checked out the record, feel free to let me know in the comment section what you thought about it, what were your favorite tracks, least favorite tracks, and how you think this album stacks up with his recent work, if you've checked it out. And if you haven't, please do, because this guy is really putting in work. He's putting out great music. So yeah, show Amari Mar some support and love, man. And yeah, that's it. It's a wrap.